Damn it! Again the teacher gave us CNC homework, as he has done since the semester began. I get tired of relearning how the ancient cultures of 4th century BC made the lead out thread and wood. He could give us a new topic.
I had already said this monotonous and deficient system with their oldest thing compared to one we could be learning. It is same that you still have to follow the instructions to be able to get a good grade.
Well, the homework is not going to be really productive. So we could investigate other things to make it more interesting. Or we could do the same as the last time. We do the most entertaining work with research methods.
It's a good idea, but what topic we start with for the information? I think it would nice to start for the story of CNC, as before machines work differently.
Should look for information on the internet. What I think is better would be to watch a video, since we can find some quite interesting, even funny.
I like the idea, but I think what I may do is search in PDF because this specific type of information can be explained in more depth. For example, it could give us a more exact data that will allow us a better understand of the CNC and how manipulate it in a better way compared to the last time that we misuse it.
I think I will do the same as Darío, but instead of investigating in PDF, I will look for graphic organizers to be able if to better differentiate all the parts and components of the CNC. To identify a problem can occur or how it works better in all its forms and thus not commit any error like the last time I did not run the program correctly.
I will do the same as Christian, because personally it is easier for me to understand the CNC, to get videos, science today than to highlight the most important information, and thus I can evaluate the obtains honest or said information in a few cases. In addition to it saves me a lot of time that I can take advantage of to better understand each part, and no, not like the work I did yesterday.
Hi, how was your homework? I started with videos about the history of the CNC, and then I continued with the parts of things to be able to do the task in a faster and more understandable way, in addition to ending a bit of the operation of the CNC. But it was a bit complicated for me because its programming seems somewhat confusing at the beginning.
It went very well for me. The PDFs that I have found were quite clear. A lot of detailed information about the CNCs. I was able to give a very good explanation about their operation among other characteristics of their programming. And despite the fact that I focus on their operation as well, I add parts of its development story.
It was a bit bad for me because I even thought I found varied information in I was able to cover various topics in different ways. I didn't find the specific information on these topics. I so had to research information on other sources, and that took me longer that I was able to take advantage of the better understand of the CNC.
Well, for me, the videos I found were quite useless and information. They explained to me in detail some parts of the CNC work, and the most basic and useless part. We're left with a brief explain that allowed me to focus more on the parts to me. They are interesting, and in a way, equal the work more relaxed and faster.
Well, it seems that in the end, we achieved our purpose, which was to be interested in the subject and not feel some neediness. And we could even have fun or entertaining moments. So perhaps we managed to learn the subjects in a better way. What do you think?
Truth was quite comfortable to do the homework. I managed to learn a lot more than I normally do, and I did the common routine that the teacher has given us. I felt very good when I managed to fully identify the unsuccessfulness of the CNC and what has done to get to this point today.
Despite having problems at the beginning for not finding the right place to investigating, I feel doing the work because I managed to understand a large part of how the CNC works, its parts and why for work in this way to be able to find better ways to use it.
I'm happy to carry out the work in this way because of the optimization of time that I obtain. The benefits is away me. Science, I could perfectly understand the most important topics about the CNC, as well as I know the most basic parts. I feel sad about the progress.
I thought who would think that in the industry revolution this device would be invented to create edge and 200 years later the first CNC would be created. It is very surprising how the technology of a long time is still used today.
Yeah, it's quite surprising that not only happens with the lathe, it also happens with other inventions, such as the paper that was invented by the Egyptians. And so, after all these centuries, we continue to use it. It's impressive.
Can you imagine how we could be invading some technology that we you continue to be used in the future? It is necessary to notice the impact of the CNC that we have uses for so long and even so it grew very fast in these 18 years.
And not only 20 years since before we have started with the creation of the CNC. It all started with the Industrial Revolution that allowed machines to be automating, thanks to steam and electricity, to later be used to create rifles for in a war.
After all that came the first revolution of this last century, science. It added support tool holders, vertical regulation, and that together with its first universal version that will come years later in this revolution, everything has been very fast, even in so hundreds of years.
For these achievements in society and progress in technology. A lot of time has passed, but it is seen as very little because the impact that this same innovation have had on our entire environment.
No, even though new innovations have not arrived as strong as a few years ago, it's not unlikely that one of them will allow us to change the way we see how things are done in this world, in addition to most effective way to perform some tasks or actions.
Well, it is a sim that doing the mask worked quite well for years. Not only to do it in a more comfortable and entertaining way, but also to understand the impact that inventors have had in the past and today. I am quite surprised by everything what we call learn and what we call learn now in the future.